Welcome to Spirit of Wellness 2020 Creative Writing Workshop. We would like to thank the following sponsors: Larimer County chapter of NAMI, the Human Being, and a private donor who is matching our fundraising up to $5,000. To avoid audio feedback, participants will be muted and may use the chat feature at the bottom of the screen to ask any questions and give responses. This session will be recorded for future viewing. Thank you. Our creative writing instructor has received an Excellence in Teaching Award from the National Society of Leadership and Success. She holds a master's degree in English language and literature and a doctorate of education, whose dissertation, Creating an Effective Writing Center, was a case study on improving student writing. She's currently an English composition instructor and writing center consultant for Front Range Community College. Please join me in thanking and welcoming Dr. Katie Leber.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Writing for Wellness. Again, my name is Dr. Leber. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm very excited to walk you all through the fun of writing and how writing can help in a variety of wellnesses. Okay, there we go. Just a quick introduction of myself. My name again is Dr. Leber, and this is my beautiful family. Some of you may know Josh Leber, who is on the Spirit Crossing board, and these are our two lovely daughters. This is what last year at Christmas. They're a little bit bigger now, but we live here in Fort Collins. We've been here for a long time, 15 or 16 years now, and we just love this area. Northern Colorado area is just beautiful, very beautiful. So today what we're going to talk about, here's a quick rundown of our agenda. We're going to talk about journaling, all of the details of journaling, the who, what, where, when, why, how, all of it. We'll talk about the benefits to overall wellness and how journaling can help be very therapeutic. Then we're going to move into 6-word memoirs. If you've never heard of it or never done one, don't be alarmed, but we're going to write a 6-word memoir here in this seminar today. So hopefully you have a piece of scratch paper handy. If not, sometime throughout the next few minutes, go grab a piece of scratch paper and a pen. And then last, we're going to talk about blackout poetry, which is a unique form of poetry that's not as focused on writing as it is creativity. So let's get to all of these great things. To open first, we're going to talk about journaling. Journaling is kind of an intimidating word for a lot of people. Some people call it keeping a diary, which has a really big stigma around it. Do you see Macaulay Culkin down there on the screen? A lot of people think of the word diary and you think of a teenage girl in her room with a locked diary. That's definitely not the case in journaling. But what journaling does is it involves this practice of exploring thoughts and feelings, and maybe it surrounds events of your life or things that are going on in your world, or maybe things you just want to get off of your mind or talk about, current events even. Anything that you find relevant and interesting can go into a journal. So I want us to get away from that stigma of the word diary because it has a very bad stigma on it. But if you're keeping a journal, that's a little different. So let's call it that from now on. So who can journal is the first question I want to answer. Absolutely, positively, anyone can journal. There is no prescribed structure. There's not a certain way that you have to do it. It should feel comfortable. It should feel organic and unique to your style. That's what you want when it comes to journaling. You are free to journal however is best for you. And there's an open seat waiting for you, as the picture shows, well, to start journaling today even. So what is journaling? Lots of questions about what this is. Basically, the long story short of it is that journaling is a means of keeping a log or a record. And again, it's about whatever is important to you. So it could be personal experiences, memories, events, emotions. It could be a way to relieve stress, or maybe something bad happened to you and you want to talk about it or create the sense of awareness, maybe develop further insights into who you are as a person. Maybe you just want to write something creative, a quick poem or a free verse, or maybe start a short story, or you found something interesting online and you wanted to expand your thoughts on that. In the image you see on the slide, there are lots of different things, lots of different adjectives and adverbs that describe journaling. And we're going to talk about a few of these and what they mean and how they are involved with journaling. But again, journaling is whatever you need it to be. And that's the most important thing to take away from this right now. Some journals look like this. You see this one in the upper right-hand corner. It looks very structured. There's maybe some bar graphs to write out how you're feeling, or in this case, it's maybe things that they needed to do. There's a strict structure on the right-hand side. That is a way to journal, absolutely. You look at the one on the bottom right, it starts off, "This was the weirdest day." That's a great opening for a journal entry. How did your day go? What do you want to say about how your day went? It does not need to be involved in a lot of different ways. It just needs to be, this is what happened in my day. And on the left-hand side, well, you might have seen these before online, gratitude journal prompts. Talking about gratitude and having gratitude for our lives is a really important thing. And you might consider, if you're brand new to journaling, starting with ways that you are grateful for things in your life. And I think, especially this year and during this pandemic, we all have things that we are grateful for. So the journal prompt that I list here lists out 26 questions. You don't need to be that strict and rigid if you want to. You can just start out with every day talking about something you are grateful for in your life. And that's a really great way to start journaling if you are a little bit intimidated by this concept and you're not quite sure where to go. So here's a few methods. Here's a couple more. Now these get a little bit more involved and a little bit, maybe a little more creative. I'll start in the upper left. So this one is drawing some images to go with their list. And they kind of apparently use their journal as a little bit of a to-do list and how they were feeling that day. It says the words "my diary," which again, don't freak out over that word, but you could accompany a writing entry with a picture that you want to draw, or on the right-hand side, upper right, it kind of looks more like a scrapbook. That's a great way to journal. Take out pictures or images or draw something that you want to go into your journal. Put it in your journal, because that's a beautiful way to capture where you are in that moment of the day. The bottom left, this one is a little bit more writing, less drawing, but again, you can see the images are kind of throughout. Maybe that person got inspired by the image while they were writing and they stopped to draw whatever that image was. And then the bottom right is on a computer. A journal does not have to be a notebook. It can be. It could be a notebook for sure. It does not have to be. So if you are more comfortable on a computer, you can type out a journal entry. You can take pictures and images from the web and paste those into your journal entry. You don't have to only write. The medium is very fluid. You can do it however you are comfortable and whatever allows you to express yourself in whatever manner you need to do in that moment. The next question, what can I write? Absolutely, positively, anything you can think of. Anything you want can go into a journal. I've written out a few things. What happened in your day? Maybe memories or emotions you feel at that moment or you have felt throughout that day. A brain dump. Do you have a lot going on up here? And maybe you just need to, I call it word vomit. Get the word vomit out on the page and say, I have so much in my head, I just need to get it out. That's a great way to journal. Finding a writing prompt online. There are a ton of creative writing prompts online. You could find journaling entry prompts, kind of like the gratitude one I just showed you. You can find all of those online. Use the internet as a medium. That for sure will help you journal. You can draw pictures of your day. If you're not prepared to put it to words, that's okay. Maybe you draw a picture of how your day felt or how the memory or emotion you were feeling felt. And again, use whatever medium works. Magazines, cut pictures out of, internet. You can grab images from there. You can use whatever medium works best. And I've already said it, but cut out pictures from a magazine that represent your feelings or event that's going on. Whatever feels right in that moment is the right way to write. If that's a little bit too abstract, and I know sometimes people get into creative writing and they think, oh, that's just too much for me. I need it a little more structured. Maybe try this. Let's write. W-R-I-T-E. Let me talk about what each of those are. W is the first one. What do you write about? think about what's going on in your life, your current feeling, your emotion, your mood, what your goal you have, what you're striving for, how you can accomplish this goal. Think about all of those things. Start that with your W. The R, review or reflect on it. This is maybe a few moments to be still, to gather your thoughts, take a calming deep breath and say, okay, I think I'm ready to focus and get this part written, whatever that might be. And sometimes when you have a lot on your mind, it might be best to just take a step back and say, okay, I've thought about it. Now I'm ready to go forward. I, investigate your thoughts and feelings through your writing. This is a tough one because I hear this a lot of times in the classroom where students say, I don't know what else to write. I'm stuck. I can't get past it. That is called writer's block, and it only exists up here. You have to push through it to get through a writer's block. So take the time to sit in that uncomfortability and say, I am stuck. I don't know what to write. And maybe write those words. I am stuck. I don't know what to write. And that might help you work through these thoughts and feelings and kind of the blank brain feeling that you're going through in that moment. But investigate where you are. Your mind might start to wander. Try to refocus it. That could be a moment in the I here where you refocus and get back into what you were trying to accomplish. T, time. Time yourself to ensure that you're meeting whatever writing goal you set out for yourself. Maybe start with 5-minute increments. 5 minutes out of 24 hours, you're going to spend writing a little bit about how your day went or something you're struggling with or your feelings or emotions. And that will really help to build a pattern and a habit in your mind. And once you feel like you've accomplished 5 minutes, or if you feel like you need more time, go up to 10 minutes, go up to 15 minutes. However long is comfortable, however long you feel you need to get whatever it is on your brain out, start with that goal and see where you can build from there. So use a time limit at first to get yourself wound around this. And the last one is E, exit strategically and with introspection. Take a few minutes once you're done to read what you wrote that day. It's hard sometimes because it might feel choppy. It might feel not finished. It might feel like you want to add more to it. Try not to, especially if you've met your allotted time goal. Try to just leave it as it is, but read through and reflect upon what happened. You might say things like, I noticed that I did this, or I noticed this feeling throughout, or I'm aware of this throughout my piece, or I feel blank about what I just wrote. You might try some of those words and maybe even a quick sentence there at the end to say, this is how I'm leaving this journal. This is my feeling on my way out. So that's a really great way to get started on writing and journaling if this is something you are interested in trying. The next question is, where can you journal? Absolutely, positively, anywhere. Somewhere comfortable, somewhere where you're not going to be strict and rigid and sit up real straight. You don't have to do that with journaling. You can just say, I need to just relax. I need to take a step back and maybe lounge in a chair or go outside and sit on the porch or get some sunshine wherever you need to go. Here are a few places I found. Upper left, sitting outside in the grass, in the sun. It's a beautiful way to journal. It should be somewhere comfortable for you. I wish we could all journal at the upper right, sitting outside. It looks like a lake in the mountains, on a beach somewhere, maybe. That sounds like a perfect way to journal. Lower left, in a blanket fort. I think blanket forts are highly underutilized today, but it's a nice, safe, kind of enclosed space where you can say, I'm free to talk about what I need to say. Maybe not with a blanket fort, totally up to you. And the last one, bottom right, is on a computer sitting at a desk with a beverage of choice, maybe just on a notepad or on the computer itself, whatever works best for you. There are absolutely no rules when it comes to where. Somewhere comfortable, somewhere you can get into what you're trying to do. When should you journal? Great question again. Any time that works best for you in your schedule. Many people prefer to do it first thing in the morning. or last thing before bed. You don't have to, but a lot of people do. I would say if you feel inspired, stressed, emotional, need to get something off your mind, pick another emotional word right there, that might be the right time for you to sit down and journal. And again, think about how long you want to spend doing this and where you want to do it, and get comfortable, get in there and do it. But anytime works. There's no prescribed structure. Do it when works. Above all, journaling is a personal expression. So you want to pick a time that works best in your schedule, when you're free to sit down and do it, when your mind is maybe clear or not clear and you want to clear it. A routine might help get you started. So we talked before about scheduling 5 or 10 minutes in the beginning. Maybe pick a time in that day that works well for you. 5 minutes to start is a really comfortable time for a lot of people. It's not too long. It's not too short. It might feel longer when you're sitting in the first 5 minutes, but it's really, as far as writing goes, it's not that long to sit there and just talk about how your day went. And that's okay. It does not have to be a long, drawn out 30-minute process. That's a lot in the beginning. That you should not try to jump into 30 minutes right away. Unless you're already a journalist, maybe that would work for you. If you're also trying to get started, find a journal prompt online. Again, I used the gratitude one just a little bit ago. This is November. A lot of people think of what they're thankful for in November, so that maybe try something like that. Maybe try writing out your favorite recipe in your journal and how delicious that recipe is for you, or how you make this recipe. Maybe it's a family recipe or something that's just absolutely one of your comfort foods. Write it out in your journal. That's a great way to get started. Why should you journal? Now, this is my favorite question to answer. I'm going to read a quote here by Natalie Goldberg. Whether you're keeping a journal or writing as meditation, it's the same thing. What's important is that you're having a relationship with your mind. And above all, you should journal because of the benefits to wellness. It will boost your mood. It will enhance your sense of well-being. It will reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. I'm going to talk about that more here in just a second. It will reduce PTSD symptoms or trauma symptoms. I do want to make a special note. If you are writing about a trauma, it is important that you should not feel obligated to just jump right into that traumatic event. You might need to kind of ease your way into this. It could cause a little bit more trauma if you try to relive such a traumatic thing right away. But write about whatever feels right in that moment, knowing that maybe the goal is to write about the trauma itself in a month's time, or whatever's comfortable for you. So I do want to make that quite clear, that you should not just jump right in unless you're prepared to do so. It's an emotional process. You have to write about what feels right in that moment. But it can help reduce symptoms of that. And then it can improve working memory skills. There's a huge link between writing skills overall and journaling. Journaling has been said to, I don't have the exact statistic off the top of my head, but it's been said to improve writing skills almost 40% if you just keep a journal every day. That's something interesting to think about. Now let's talk about depression and anxiety, because a lot of people start journaling to try to alleviate some of these symptoms. And I want to first talk about depression. Expressive journaling is not necessarily going to cure depression. I wish it would, but it's not. But instead, it could definitely moderate symptoms. You could start to feel a little bit better and maybe work towards alleviating some of those symptoms sooner. Journaling has been proven to help college students who are vulnerable to depression, especially in the first and second years of college. So it has proven to help with that stress. And then people with major depressive disorder are reporting significantly lower depression scores after 3 days of expressive writing, doing it 20 minutes a day. Now that seems like a big jump, and I don't know if I could commit to 20 minutes a day right first thing. But again, 3 days, 20 minutes a day, that seems like a really good turnaround just for journaling. That's pretty amazing. Anxiety, writing through a journal can impact anxiety several different ways. It helps calm and clear your mind. It releases these pent up feelings and everyday stress. It lets go of negative thoughts. You can write it from here onto the paper and then let it go. You can explore experiences with anxiety. You know, how did a situation in which you were anxious make you feel, or how did it affect others around you? Writing about your struggles with anxiety and how um, you have worked with it, and then write about your successes as well. Where was a moment you were anxious, but you made it through with no problem? And it can definitely help enhance self-awareness. And that's what journaling does really, really well, is to get that sense of self-awareness right around you, and to make it so you don't have to suffer every day and maybe try to alleviate some of these symptoms. This is another one I'm going to read verbatim. It's some great data I found. Journaling has even been shown to impact physical well-being. Avid journal writer and journalist Michael Grothaus, I think that's how you say his name, notes that there are studies suggesting journaling can strengthen the immune system, drop blood pressure, help you sleep better, and generally keep you healthier. So if we're talking about wellness, one activity can do all of those things, which I find just absolutely remarkable. So now I've convinced you to start journaling. I've convinced you. So how can you get started? You can use anything you have at your disposal: a notebook, a piece of paper, a computer, even a napkin. I have in the past written things on napkins before. I worked in the fast food industry for a long time, and I had napkins at my disposal always. So you fold it up, you put it in your pocket, and you take it home after your shift. You can use little notebooks like this. This is a really tiny one. I think I got from the dollar store. It came in a pack of 3, just a little tiny guy. You can use composition books. These are also really affordable. Again, several pages. They're pretty thick. You could use a spiral notebook like this. Whatever you have handy. There is no prescribed structure. You can do it however you want to get that done. Whatever's handy nearby. The next thing you should do is set a goal for your writing time. Think about what's reasonable. Again, maybe 5-minute increments to start, 10 minutes if you're feeling pretty confident, but move up from there and kind of make a goal for yourself. And start small. If you blow out the 5-minute goal that you wanted for the day, and your first day you sit down and you do 10 minutes and you just couldn't stop because you had so much on your mind, great, that's wonderful. You can adjust your goal accordingly. Find a comfortable place where you can focus. You get to choose music or quiet. You get to choose a hot beverage, a cold beverage, no beverage, a snack, no snack, whatever makes you comfortable. That's where you should be to journal. You just need to find a clear space to get into your notebook or your computer. That's it. And I would say begin by putting the date on the top. That's really the only requirement, is put that date right up there so you can look back and say, wow, this was a week ago and look at how far I've come. A couple of last minute tips I have on journaling. Structure the writing in however feels comfortable and natural for you. It's going to be different for everybody. You might feel that you need a little more structure. You might try that WRITE acronym we talked about just a minute ago. If you feel you don't want the structure, you just want to go to town, get the brain drop, the word vomit on the page, if you will. And if you're not sure what to write, great, that's okay. This is all part of the process and discovery. Try starting with something simple. Answer the question, what did you do that day? What did you eat for a meal that day? Those might be a couple of ways to get you started. Again, it does not have to be long, but get something on the page to start. Another really important tip about journaling: keep your journal private. It is not for anybody except for you. Now, I would argue that if it's applicable, you might discuss contents of your journal with a mental health counselor, or maybe something similar to like a group that you're in. But I would argue that you should not ever physically take your journal and show somebody your journal. That's still very private. Consider the journal an extension of your arm. You don't want to just chop that arm off and hand it to anybody. You want people to say, oh, that's private, I respect that. But maybe you want to talk about this one event that happened. So be careful with your journal. It is a secret. So get out there and write. Start a journal today if you can, or as soon as you can get a notebook or a napkin. If you need more information, I think this PowerPoint will be available after this session is over. But I put a great website down there that talks about the benefits of journaling, and some of my information came from that website. So feel free to check that out a little bit more. Before we go forward, are there any questions over journaling I can answer for you right now? If you have a question, type it in the chat for me. I can't tell if people are typing or not. Maybe if you're good to go, give me a thumbs up, or if you have a question, continue typing it. Okay. So there's a question. Some of my writing is depressing to read. What can I do? Great. I'm so glad it's that you have looked at your journal and you have reflected on it, and you can tell that about yourself. But the good news is that it's not for anybody else to read except for you. So if you find it depressing, maybe that's something you can comment on in another journal down the road. It's really, it's not about what other people think of your journal writing, but it's more about this feeling of self-awareness. So I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I hope that it's a good introspection for you to realize that about yourself. Are there any situations where I would share my journal? That's another very good question. I would say, off the top of my head, I would not ever recommend, again, physically taking your journal to someone. The only time I can think of is if maybe some thoughts involve harming yourself or others. It might be a good idea to talk to somebody about those thoughts. That in that case, again, I wouldn't recommend sharing it, but I would say I wrote in my journal and I had these thoughts and I need to talk to somebody about these thoughts. That's the only time I would recommend it. There you go. That's a great suggestion. End the entries with something positive. So maybe do the brain drop for part of it, and perhaps that is what you feel is depressing. And then at the end, turn it around and talk about something that you're grateful for, something that's going really well in your life, a success story, whatever's applicable. That's a really great idea. What do I think of the bullet journal? There's a lot of controversy over bullet journals. I personally, I think it's more of a hype. Personal opinion. I think you can do the exact same thing with just a piece of paper and a pen. You don't have to get all fancy with a bullet journal. But if bullet journals are something you're interested in, yes, there's the next question. If bullet journals are something you're interested in, I would maybe Google it, find one that works well for you. It is certainly a method of journaling, but it's not one that's going to work for absolutely everybody. Personally, I feel that just a straight up piece of paper and pen is going to work for nearly everybody. A bullet journal is, like I said, it's a structured way to journal. There's little stickers that are involved, and you can put, it's almost like providing the prompt for you in the journal itself. So again, if you're interested in bullet journaling or not quite sure, I would Google it and see what you find out there. Just for fun. Great questions. You guys are on the questions today. What's an art journal? I'm not as familiar with that one, but would it be something like keeping a tracing of your art as you go, or is it involving art in the journaling process maybe? Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of familiarity with that one, but that is a very good question. And I would say if you are more artistic and you like to draw, there is absolutely no reason why you can't combine the two into one. Write a little bit, draw a little bit, do both at the same time. There's lots of opportunity for art and writing to go hand in hand. Very good. Awesome questions. All right, I'm going to pause the questions for now, and we are going to move into the next section, which is about, I'm going to talk real briefly about poetry, and we're going to get to our 6-word memoirs. A lot of us have experience with poetry, and poetry is one of these great mediums that kind of can encompass anybody because there are so many different ways you can write poetry. So real quickly, a very short history of poetry. The first published poem was found written on papyrus, and before our modern day alphabet actually existed. And they think it existed around 1990 they think it was written around 1990 BC. There was a lot of controversy over finding this first poem. There are two different stories that are now at odds with each other over who found the first poem. It was allegedly found in 1881 by a Russian. However, there are also stories that it was in the Imperial Museum in St. Petersburg with no record who found it. So there's not really a lot of definitive answers on when we first found this poem, but we know it exists. It was about 1,600 words, and it read kind of like a story or a free write rather than a poem. It's called The Shipwrecked Sailor. I see your question. I'm going to come right back to that question here in just a second. So I will not forget you, I promise. So what is poetry? There is a technical definition for poetry, a literary work in which special intensity is given to the expression of feelings and ideas using distinctive style and rhythm. However, what is poetry is very loosely defined by each one of us. Poetry can take many forms. Do you like green eggs and ham? I do not like them, Sam I am. I do not like green eggs and ham. That's great poetry, isn't it? We all love Dr. Seuss. He's got wonderful books for generations now. People have read Dr. Seuss books, but it's a form of poetry. Let's talk about haiku. That's another form of poetry. It's a Japanese poem of 17 syllables that are 5, 7, and 5. It's only 3 lines. 5, 7. It's a haiku up above on my slide about haikus. Here's another one, falling to the ground. I watch a leaf settle down in a bed of brown. Haikus are most generally written about nature or some memorable experience, or they can be silly and funny too. But it does have a strict structure to it. It has to be 5, 7, 5 syllables, only 3 lines. And it's by syllables, not by word. So it's a little bit different than what we're probably used to writing. Here's a haiku about getting out of bed. Pause for laughter. Oh, that one makes me laugh a lot. Because nobody wants to get out of bed. Another really famous type of poetry is called a limerick. You probably know of a limerick because I'm going to show you a few here, but it's 5-line poems with rhymes in 1, 2, and 5, and the other 2 lines rhyme on their own. So there was an old man man of Nantucket who kept all his cash in a bucket. His daughter called Nan ran away with a man and asked for the bucket, Nantucket. So it's got this AABBA rhyming scheme in it. You might have heard of Hickory Dickory Dock. That's a limerick. Or there was an old man from Peru, also a limerick. So the limericks are a little bit more structured, but a little bit looser at the same time. You just have to follow the rhyming scheme, AABBA. They're a lot of fun if you can get all the words where you want them to go. They're a lot of fun to write. So give limericks a try if you're interested in those. Now, before we start our talk about 6-word memoirs, I want to answer the question that came through in the chat. Wouldn't you share your personal thoughts with a loved one? In a relationship, there are no secrets. Absolutely, and I do 100% agree. But again, I would not ever share my personal journal and let them read it. You might talk about it and say, in my journal today, I wrote about this. Can you help me work through this? Or something like that. So again, I would argue not to let anybody physically read it, but talk about what's in it if you feel like you need to. And again, I am not the end all. I'm not a psychologist. So if you feel that maybe you need to share your personal thoughts in that manner, it's your journal. I won't be there with you to do it. So do whatever works best for your situation and your loved ones or your mental health counselor, whoever you need to share it with. All right, let's talk about 6-word memoirs. If you haven't already, go get yourself a little piece of scrap paper, a Post-it note, a napkin, something handy nearby, and you're going to actually write one here in this class. So let me talk about what they are while you guys go get your scrap of paper. The 6-word memoirs is a project that was US based, and it's founded by Smith Magazine, which is an online storytelling magazine. Smith Magazine was founded in 2006. And they took a cue from Ernest Hemingway, who was originally challenged to write a short story in only 6 words. And he wrote, it's on my bullet points right down here, "For sale, baby shoes never worn." That was his short story. So the magazine has evolved over the years, and now they ask readers to submit their own 6-word memoirs. And you could look at their website listed down here on the slide. And you can look at what people have submitted. Celebrities have done this. Political figures have done it. Normal, everyday U.S. citizens like you and me, they've done it too. You can get on there and you can submit your 6-word memoir, and the website will publish it on their website for you. Oops, I think I went too far. Hold on. I don't know how to go back. Nope, I didn't. Just kidding. I thought I clicked it twice. So basically, a 6-word memoir is you in 6 words. Not 7, not 5, only 6. Now, I don't know why 6 is the magic number, but that's what the magazine decided. Sure, your life story could fill 1,000 pages, but sometimes a few words are all you need. So 6 words about who you are, or about something in your life, or whatever the case is. Here's some examples, and I took these directly from the Smith Magazine website. I feel like the first one was personally written for me. Vice, procrastination, cure, determination, when, tomorrow. That's like my life story right there. They can get really poetic. My rose had one thorn, death. Feeling too much, thinking too little. The one thing all of these have in common, 6 words only. That's it. You are free to use whatever words at your disposal, whatever punctuation you see fit. All it is 6 words. So what we're going to do right now is, on your piece of paper, I want you to narrow down your life into 6 words. Think about maybe words that describe who you are, and start with just a brainstorm of some of those words. And then think about how you can put those words into a cohesive idea. Or your 6-word memoir could just be those 6 words. That's also a 6-word memoir. So let's all do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself for let's do just 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes. We'll see how the room feels. And I'll mute myself, and you guys write your 6 words. I'm not going to ask you to share them, so feel free to get as personal as you need to, but I'll also write one along here with us, and I will share mine at the end. So go ahead and do that right now, and I'll put 1 minute on the clock. Okay, I'm going to come back. Even if you're still working, that's okay. And I do apologize, fall allergies are really kicking my butt here today. So I apologize about my sniffing. So I wrote just, you won't be able to see it very well. I wrote in pencil too, which means nobody can see it except for me on camera. But I wrote a few words that described myself to start. And then I came up with this fun one. And my 6-word memoir is Grumpy Cat is my spirit animal. Do you guys remember Grumpy Cat? That cat that looked like it was grumping all the time? I should have a picture of her on here. She's my spirit animal, and she, I don't know, kind of encompasses how I feel about the world sometimes. Let's see, I don't want to see what you guys wrote, but maybe do you want to hold up your paper to the camera so everybody can see that you guys did write something along with us? Cool. Those of you not on camera, it's okay. No pressure. Awesome. I love it. Thanks for doing that with me. That's a lot of fun. So if you are feeling so inspired, continue to write those 6-word memoirs. It might be a great way to jump off a journal entry and say, I'm going to start with Grumpy Cat is my spirit animal, and then I'm going to move into why I'm grumpy all the time, or whatever the case is. Or why I'm not grumpy all the time. So if you could use it in a journaling capacity as well. It is so much fun to write these. I teach these in my college composition courses. We do a section on open free writing, and it's a lot of fun to watch the students sit around and go. I get a big kick out of watching them try to count the words. Okay, so thank you for doing that with me. That was a lot of fun. I hope that you enjoyed that part of it. You did it, you started, you wrote 6 words, and sometimes journaling is just as easy as that. Your way to wellness can sometimes just start with 6 words. Oh, thank you, Caroline. So the question about art journaling, I'm going to pull that up so I can get to it later. Great. I want to read about that. All right, good. How am I doing on time? Oh, I'm doing great. Okay. The last thing I want to talk to you about is called blackout poetry. Blackout poetry is an unconventional style of poetry. It's not something that you directly write out, but it's something you use as a piece of writing as a medium, and you create your own poetry from it. It's a style of poetry that is about covering and uncovering words on the page. So if the PowerPoint is going to be available after, which again, I think it is, I put a PDF down there at the bottom of my slide that has, I don't remember, 50 pages or so of just our random PDF. I would encourage all of you to go on there, pick a page of your choosing, print it off, and try to create your own blackout poetry after we talk about this discussion here. Sorry. Tell you what, this fall. Okay, so here's the process. Here's how you would accomplish blackout poetry. The first thing is to read through the page that you have chosen in its entirety. And again, it doesn't have to be from my PDF. If you have an old book at home, or you want to stop at Goodwill or Dollar Store and pick up a book of your choosing, you can pick one of those pages and make a blackout right there. It can be any page. So read through the page in its entirety, and you don't have to understand what the page is trying to tell you. The content is not important, but you're looking for words and patterns of words to eventually take, like you see in the picture, and circle and underline, and you want to mark those words that kind of stand out to you. So as you read, or maybe read it once and then go back and do it again, take a pencil. Don't take a pickle, that won't be very beneficial. Take a pencil and circle and underline words that stand out to you. They might be interesting, they might be unique, it might be something that expresses who you are. There's no rhyme or reason. Pick whatever words work best and kind of mark those with a pencil, underline or circle, as you see here on my slide. And if you like what you've chosen as your words, brainstorm kind of your presentation in pencil. You can kind of strike through lines except for that word on the page. Maybe you can see it up here at the top where this person has taken their black marker. They're ready to commit in this one, but they have taken their black marker and they've just left the boxes open with their words. In essence, they won't be able to read anything else except for the words on the page that they have left open intentionally. So do that until you are satisfied with your lines of poetry. And it can be a complete sentence. It can just be words. I'm going to show you some examples here in a minute. There are absolutely no rules to how and what you create with this style of poetry. When you're ready to finalize your blackout poetry, use a black marker or a color of your choosing, and you put dark marks around everything else except for the words that you want to show. In essence, you're kind of creating art and poetry at the same time. And again, excuse me, there's no set way to black out those unnecessary lines. Sometimes the most interesting part of what you are doing with blackout poetry is that there are no rules, and maybe you come up with a really cool image instead of so much focused on the words. I have some examples. Be creative with this, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Here are some simple examples. The one on the left obviously blacked out everything else. And I love the phrase in this one, never apologize for manifesting your dreams. They decided to go, excuse me again, with a full sentence. You don't have to, you sure can though. The one on the right, I like the abstractness of it and how it looks real bubbly. They chose not to just do the whole page, but they left some words and kind of wanted you to follow your eye through where they're taking you. I think that's pretty unique and kind of a cool way to do it. Here's a couple kind of medium level, if you're a little bit more artistic, maybe. Again, they boxed out the words on the left and then used kind of a squiggle to look maybe like ocean waves, which I think is really kind of cool because that's what I interpreted down at the bottom is like this wave coming up on the shore. I don't know, maybe that's just me. That's fine. And then on the right-hand side, they use different colors and the blackout as well to show a literal wave on the page. And I think that's just a really unique expression of it. Here's a couple more that are a little bit more complicated. The one on the left, creating the lines, I'm not sure I could follow that in my brain. I don't possess a lot of art skill. Just writing skill. But I'm not sure I could follow that all the way around. It would be really fun to try to create this mandala sort of complicated pattern with your circles. That would be a lot of fun. And then on the right, you can see the hand that and the flower down at the bottom that is kind of that's their blackout. They left the words in boxes, but they continued to put other things around it. So you see not only the art, but also the words on the page too. It's kind of a cool way to do that one. And here's a couple that I would consider a little bit more advanced level. I don't think I could do either one of these personally, but the one on the left, I just love. It says, my father, he sank wearily into very pale coffee. And then the picture of the coffee cup with the steam. I just think that's so poetic and beautiful. And then the one on the right, beautiful picture. They completely blacked out everything except for the moon. I think that would have taken a little bit of skill and maybe a white marker to go along with that to do a bunch of those stars. But I think that is a lot of fun to do it that way too. So your unofficial homework, I am a teacher after all, your unofficial homework now from this seminar is to give blackout poetry a try. Pick a page of your choosing from the PDF or wherever you want to find it and to just give it a try and see what you come up with. It's a lot of fun to kind of work through that. So are there any final questions I can answer? Again, type in the chat if you would for me, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have over journaling, about poetry, about blackout poetry or 6-word memoirs, or whatever else you want to talk about with regards to writing for wellness. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. All right.
Where's the chat for us? Right there.
Caroline says, I don't like writing on the computer. I get it. I feel like I spend all day on the computer. I mean, I grade a lot of papers and whatnot. So when it comes time for me to personally write, I want to step away from the computer as far as I can sometimes. And that's okay. You don't have to do it on the computer at all. Get a notebook or, a fancy one, a not fancy one, etc. That's perfectly fine. Does journaling have any cognitive benefits? Um, Lots of cognitive benefits, actually. It can help improve memory. It improves writing and learning skills. I don't have any statistics off the top of my head, so I'm sorry about that, Craig, but there are a lot of benefits to a lot of different aspects of mental health and wellness. So if you want more statistics, feel free to email me. I'm happy to go on and find some of those, but it is very beneficial to your whole body. What can I do for papers, etc.? Do you mean, Caroline, do you mean like resumes or formal papers or essays? I don't know if you're a student or not. Maybe let me know. Oops, I went backwards. Sorry about that. Awesome, Brooke. I'm sorry to hear about you losing the use of your right hand, but it's great that you've adapted and you can still blog and review and journal on the computer. I think that's great. And that's why one thing important to note about journaling is it's not necessarily only one typecasted way to do it. You can do it whatever works best for you. And if you are able to type, maybe that's the best medium. And if you're not able to type, then maybe writing is the best medium. Or, you know, for some of us, especially if you have some, muscular issues or carpal tunnel or whatever the case is, maybe start very, very slow. Maybe 5 minutes may seem like too long. That's okay. Nothing says you have to journal only once a day. You could journal 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes at lunch, and 2 minutes in the evening, or whatever your physical capabilities are, or your mental capabilities. Sometimes it's too much to even try to think about putting it on the page. So lots of ways to do it. It's so you can make it personal in a lot of different ways. Let's see. Let me go back to Caroline's essays and papers. It is hard, especially so many schools now are going to online modalities and you have to be able to use a computer. So it is very difficult to use a computer if you're not comfortable with it or you don't like to use it or it hurts to type or whatever the case is. So if you are in that boat, maybe try to find a way to balance between handwriting what you're trying to do and writing on the computer, so that way you are not overexhausted by doing either one. It can be very tough, and there are digital means that I forgot what it's called, dictation. You can do like a transcribing word to talk or speech to text. That's what it's called, speech to text, that you can do in even Microsoft Word. So maybe there's a way you could dictate your journal instead of writing your journal. Or maybe keep a digital journal and use like a recorder to say, here's what happened today. That's still a very therapeutic process. I think, let's see, comment regarding what Ron said, journaling is a great way to keep your thoughts private. Yeah, we did, I mentioned that kind of before we talked about 6-word memoirs, I think, but if you are, what Ron said was, shouldn't you share your journal with a loved one? And I maintain that the journal should still be private. However, if you feel that sharing that journal is beneficial to your relationship and you want that kind of intimacy with your partner, then it's your journal. I don't have to know what you do with your journal in the slightest. So if you feel like you need to share it, you are allowed to do so. Personally, I feel like if I had a journal, I would not want to share that with my partner. I want it to be my personal thoughts. So again, that is my personal opinion. You do whatever works best for you. Let's see. Have you read The Artist's Way? She encourages to write 3 pages. Oh, wow. Caroline, I think that's a great way to journal. In fact, writing on whatever the topic is and then putting it aside is very good for the writing process. The ancient Roman poet Horace once said that you should put a draft of whatever you're writing away for 9 years. Now, 9 years is a long time, but if this is something you're interested in revisiting, you could come back to it a year down the road. You don't have to look at it right away. Okay, Kate, I see your message, Katie. All right, they are telling me my time is up, but if you have further questions on this, I'm happy to answer them. Again, I believe the PowerPoint is going to be available for distribution, as well as the recording from this particular seminar. So thank you so much for your time today, everyone. It was a pleasure talking to you about writing for wellness.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you. You're welcome. Glad you enjoyed it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that recorded.